Greetings and welcome to a Mr. Gigabytes thing. That, of course, was a shout out to Clint over at LGR. No reason, really. I just like what he does and really like what he does on his channel. He's close to 1 million subscribers, and if you haven't had a chance already, go ahead and check his channel out. He's got a lot of stuff that he does on there, and well, just go check it out, and I'm sure you'll find something you'll like. But down to this video today, I'm going to do kind of an unboxing video of sorts. I've already unboxed these, but they're things that the things that I've acquired recently that maybe people might have an interest in, and I'd like to tell you about them. So, without further ado, let's get started. First thing is pretty mundane. It's a cheap set of USB thumb drives. They're, of course, in mint green. Kind of a pearlized thing going on. These are 16 gigabytes, and I ordered a bunch of them because I find myself doing a lot more with needing thumb drives and whatnot. Commodore Mini being one of them, so I ordered 10 of them, box of 10. They were pretty cheap, about $32 on Amazon. But that's pretty commonplace. Some of the thrift store finds that I got, I picked up this brand new VHS-C tape, still sealed and wrapped and everything. I had no reason to pick this up other than it was cheap and it was different, and you don't see a lot of new VHS-C tapes anymore. So that's another thing I got. And this I haven't even taken out of the bag since I bought it. I picked this up in Madison, South Dakota, at a thrift store. The first thing I've got, Wheel of Fortune for the PC, and Zebco Pro Fishing 3D. Picked that up for $2. Picked up Age of Mythology, the Titans expansion. Didn't have a box with it, but that's okay. Picked that up for about $4. I have Age of Mythology. I didn't think I had the Titans expansion, so having that, pretty cool. And then here is Age of Empires 3: The War Chiefs. Now I don't have Age of Empires 3. This is just the expansion, so that's now pretty high on my list of things to get. While we're on the subject of software, I have been going through and picking up, going online and trying to find as many games as possible for the Commodore 64. And I'm going to show you a few of them that I just recently purchased. You may already know that I've got Planet X3. Or X2, I'm sorry. Planet X2 for the Commodore 64. That's by the 8-bit guy. I showed that in a video on one of the C64 mini videos that I did, and it's a really fun game. I haven't had a lot of chance to play it, but I wasn't able to get a boxed version, but I did pay a little bit extra for the disc and manual for it. So I thought that was pretty cool. The ones that came in more recently, I've got a few of them were download only titles, and I paid $5 for them. But I bought these in both download and in the boxed version, and I've never really bought boxed versions of games before for a Commodore 64. It's interesting that in 2019 I'm buying boxed games for a system. But this is Ma. for the Commodore 64. This did not have a digital download, so I just bought the boxed copy for it. Looks like an interesting game. I haven't really... I don't think I've played it too much, but... Sam's Journey, of course. No, this has been a really popular game, and I did get to play this. I downloaded it and got to play it a little bit. Really fun game. It kind of feels a little bit like a Super Mario 3. The motion and the gameplay. That's what it reminds me of anyway. But a really good game. I highly recommend this one. And then Rescuing Orc, which I did not... I have not got a chance to play. And I don't think this one had a digital download either. Maybe Ma did. And I think Ma might have been pretty low cost or free. But this one definitely did not have a digital download. So, and this one looked interesting. Kind of a Legend of Zelda look to it. But I have not been able to play. Obviously, it's not even out of its wrapper yet. But I also don't even have a Commodore 64 to play it on. So we're going to rectify that in a future video. Okay, so the other thing that I got that's pretty mundane is a 5-volt, 3,000 milliamp power supply, a mini USB Type B plug on it, and this is by Northpada. Now I have another one of these, and what it's for is for a Raspberry Pi. Now the Raspberry Pi, I bought one of these earlier and noted that I bought this in a kit with a bunch of other accessories and things. And the reason I bring this up is because, number one, it's got these have got power switches on them. But I bought another one recently for another Raspberry Pi, and it was basically a cell phone charger with a one of these types of cords on it with the switch on it. And I thought they were the same thing. When I plugged it in, it showed an undervoltage. It was constantly undervoltaging the server or the Raspberry Pi. And it's like, well, every single one of my other power supplies does that. I noticed, so I went and sought out this one, and these don't, for some reason, do not undervoltage on a Raspberry Pi. So I'm not sure what the deal is on that. That's worth looking into. So I figured I'd let people know about it. Another thing that I got with my games recently, I paid for the extra pack, and we got a couple of posters, Sam's Journey, and this one's Galencia. I actually did go ahead and buy the download for Galencia because we got it free with the Commodore, the C64 Mini, but I wanted to be able to play it on other devices, so I went ahead and paid the $5 to well, number one, support it, and number two, so that I could play it on other platforms. And we got these posters with it, so with the one with Sam's Journey and the one with Galencia. So I thought that was pretty neat too. One of the things that I've been seeing recently is the premium refurbished devices from GameStop. There have been several critical things about them, several critical videos of them. Some of them better than others, some of them worse. So I figure, well, you know what? I needed a Nintendo DS Lite so that I can play some of my older Nintendo Game Boy games, and I wanted something that was backlit, and I wanted something neat. I also wanted something in green, so that's what I went ahead and ordered. I went ahead and ordered a lime green Nintendo DS Lite. And one of the first things I noticed was that Just a little bit of scratching, a couple of marks on the top. Not a big deal. But I open it up, and that's actually pretty floppy there. Now laptops will do that too, and that usually means that there's something wrong with the hinge. I happen to have a DS Lite that we're going to compare it to right now. Okay, so I've got this is the one that I'm replacing, and as you can see, it doesn't wiggle around nearly as much. There is a little bit of play to it, but this actually feels more solid. The issue with this is the top screen does not, the backlight no longer works, and obviously it's been reskinned. This is something a little more original, but we may swap some parts across, but I may have to take that, take this off and see if we can tighten that hinge up. But basically, anytime, it seems like anytime that I've watched a dozen or so videos from GameStop, and it seems like if you get a premium refurbished system from GameStop, I expect to do some repair on it, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. I did get a power supply with it, but it's a generic. It's an on power supply. It looks like it's designed for a couple of different systems, but which that doesn't make any difference to me, honestly. I already have one, and I've got all the pieces and parts and whatnot for it. So I've got a Game Boy Advanced game. Well, it certainly seems to play. I don't have any DS games, but that seems to work all right. So the last thing I'm going to show is I'm going to show you this power supply. And it is a fairly unremarkable power supply all by itself. This is a Commodore VIC-20 power supply. It outputs 11 volts, 38 volt amps. It's the interesting thing is that it's for the VIC-20. And specifically, it is for my VIC-20. Now, how do I know that? There's actually a story behind this power supply. And it comes in the form of this box. Now, I mentioned in the unboxing video for the VIC-20 that I showed that there was a name on some of the paperwork. And some of the paperwork, this is one of those. Jim and Connie Shriver, or Shriver. It gives an address in San Diego and a phone number and whatnot. This all came with my haul of the VIC-20 and the Commodore 64. When I got this power supply, a gentleman in Watertown, his name's Doug. You've probably seen him around the forums. Offered this up for sale for $20, and I immediately jumped at it because I have a power supply that I built for it in the VIC-20 video, but I didn't have an original one. It would be really cool to have an original one, and so I jumped at it, and my family and I traveled up to Watertown to go pick it up. And he said, "Well, would you like a box of magazines to go with it?" Well, sure, I'd love to have some magazines. I don't have any. I never subscribed to them. I never subscribed to a Commodore magazine. Probably a little too young for that, maybe. So I got this box of magazines, and I start going through them, and well, what do you know? A James Shriver with a Brookings address. Well, it turns out that the person that sold me this power supply also went to the same pawn shop in Brookings, and the pawn shop in Brookings got a request to clear out a bunch of stuff, and the pawn shop owner, in his wisdom, actually got rid of all of this Commodore and VIC-20, and this guy had a bunch. You would almost think he was a collector. Well, the long story short is when the pawn shop had to clear out this estate after this gentleman died, he went down. Doug went down and picked up a bunch of the equipment, but there were a few things that he couldn't get or had to leave behind, and I happened to call up and say, "Hey, I'm looking for stuff," and was able to get everything that he left behind, and I showed you that in the unboxing videos. And so when I got up there, it was just made an interesting story about how this kind of hate to use a cliche, but it's a small world type of a thing, and how used Commodore equipment can bring people together and share stories, and I think it's just fantastic. This excited me to no end. This isn't a lot that I got, but the story behind it was fascinating. That we'd both gone in and picked up the same guy's equipment, and it kind of brought us together, and it's really cool. So yeah, we got all these Commodore magazines. Run magazine, Commodore magazine. I'm obviously not gonna go through them all, but yeah, I've been going through them off and on, and it's a fascinating lesson in history. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this video. I really appreciate everybody who watches, and as always, thank you for watching.